In Canada, as I'm sure you all know, we have many different indigenous groups, as you know, scattered across the nation. And there was a sort of a very dark chapter that really only came into the sort of public consciousness a few years ago, and it was something they called residential school, and I don't know if Britain did something similar, maybe, you know, in the years that Britain sort of was the world power that it was. But what they did in Canada, well, I guess it was Britain that started it, because we weren't a nation until later. But what residential school was children were removed from their families, from their homes. So indigenous children were taken away from their families, and they were put in institutions that were run by the government and churches, usually the Catholic or the Protestant church. And the thought was that if we sort of pull these people away from their traditions and their people, then we can turn them, you know, sort of turn them into white people, kind of thing. That was sort of the understanding. And there was 7 years ago, a thing called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission on Indian residential schools happened in Canada. And so we started hearing stories, you know, the stories of physical, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. Kids as young as 3 were taken from their families. And at the time, I read a book called Up Ghost River by a man named Edmund Matadawabin, who is a Cree gentleman. And the book was his childhood memoirs about his time in Indian residential school, and then his subsequent years after that dealing with addictions and incarceration and things like that. And it does have, as dark as that sounds, it does have a happy ending. Edmund goes on to beat his addictions, to be a great community leader. He goes on to be chief of his tribe. And I think he was chief up until about 2 years ago. Anyhow, when I read his book, I was so sort of moved by it. I think because Edmund was removed from his family when he was 3, and at the time, I had a 3-year-old son, and I thought to myself, I can't even imagine my son being removed from me and the safety and the love, you know, and that he receives from myself and my wife, and how horribly, you know, terrified and absolutely lonely he would be. So I think I was moved a lot by that. So it prompted me to write a song, but the thing about writing a song about another culture or another people is that there's that fine line of appropriating something, a narrative or a story that's not yours. And so after the song was written, I thought, well, I'm going to find Edmund. I'm going to see if I can find him online. And sure enough, there he was online. And I wrote to him and I said, I've read your book, I've written a song about you, and I said, but I'm not indigenous, and I said, I don't want it to offend you, or does it offend you that a white guy, you know, quote white guy is singing your song? And he said to me, well, send me the song and I'll have a listen. And I sent it to him and he wrote me back in about 20 minutes, and he said, I had a listen to your song, and he said, then I had a second listen, then I had a good cry, and he said, thanks so much for writing that song. So tonight, the song's called Man of God. I'm going to send it out to Edmund Matadawabin.
The man of God gave some kind of blessing. He said something about sins that needed confessing. There was no time for kisses, no time for goodbyes. He had the Lord on his lips, the devil in his eyes. They took away our clothes and our Indian names. They pulled out my feather and threw it to the flames. That my mama had tied. They had the Lord on their lips, the devil in their eyes. When I think, I ache. When I ache, I drink. When I drink, I fly high above the buttes, somewhere outside my head. And I fly till I sleep, and I sleep till I I dream till I wake and start thinking again. Well, I missed my mama and I missed my daddy, and I thought around in each chance that I had, but they beat us like dogs every time we got caught. They had the Lord on their lips, the devil in their hearts, and sometimes at night the wolves would appear, and I'd face the wall hoping no one would hear. I never said nothing, the shame was too much. They had the Lord on their lips, the devil in their touch. And I lost my stories and I lost my songs, I lost my ways and my Indian tongue. And how could a man of God do what he did? We were just children, Christ, we were just kids. When I think, I ache. When I ache, I drink. When I drink, I fly high above the buttes, somewhere outside my head. And I fly till I sleep, and I sleep till I dream, and I dream till I wake and start thinking